We have, as you know, every month we have at least 1 or 2 knowledge sharing webinars every month. And this is going from thanks to the COVID, we came into this webinar. Earlier, we used to have only personal meetings and used to have conferences. But now this webinar series is actually helping us, the people, because we can get many people onto the roll. Unless this is not possible, if we are doing it in person, then you have to come to Mumbai or some place. This is helping us big way. And this is this year's actually we are focusing on the automation and digitalization as an important facet for our pharma. Though people are important, they are not very important when you are manufacturing products, because they are contaminants mostly. So I think a lot of things are being worked out. You have seen some of the digitalization which companies have taken place, like the continuous manufacturing. Then you are looking at certain digitalization, like this. All your log sheets are getting auto, so it is directly capturing from the systems, LIMS systems. So many things have come up in the pharma in last few years. But now I think bigger changes are happening, and the robotics is also coming into the picture. Because in the sterile area, the people are the problem, that we know about it. And recently, I think some of the manufacturers have put robots for the manufacturing, filling, and till the sealing operations, and now layer loading also. So it is becoming an important. And we have got 2 good speakers here from the Staubli, who are going to talk about what automation can help, how automation can help you. We have got Mr. Sebastian Lagarde. I hope my pronunciation is right.
All good.
Has been working for Staubli for almost 6 years. First dedicated for the business development in India, Spain, UK, and North America. He is now global market leader at Staubli Robotics for the whole pharma and medical business. With mechanical background, he worked for R&D at Areva and Alstom. Then he gained global experiences privately by living few years in Canada and Australia. Australia. And professionally at company, and is as a project manager for large plastic film factory in Brazil, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, and Japan. We also have one Mr. Wasim Mullah from Bangalore. He has got almost 15 years of technical and sales experience, and is working in Staubli for last 8 years. Heading the sales and service support for robotics business in India, he excels in the sales, strategy implementation, team building, and project management. With mechanical background, he worked for developing the robotics business for European and Japanese robot manufacturers in the segment of pharma and medical, automotive, and plastics. Welcome to the seminar, and I hand it over to Staubli or Wasim.
Yeah, thank you. So I would just like to start the session by saying thank you, IPA. Thank you, Shirish sir and Devang, for giving us this opportunity and making us in line with this IPA conference, where we will present today and the future use of robotics in the sensitive environment of pharma. Not only pharma, but also medical devices, and how it can extend its horizon to both this segment, and what applications we cater to, and how we are benefiting the pharma world by our different products that we have and different applications that we serve in this industry. So thank you once again, IPA team. Thank you, Shirish sir and Devang, for having us here. And by saying this, I hand over to Sebastian to go ahead on our presentation.
Thank you, Wasim. So I think I share my screen. So in case no, please let me know. So I initiate this presentation that I will be the co-speech with my colleague Wasim. So briefly, so we can go through the agenda. So we will start talking about what we see now in terms of robotic in the pharma factory. So a large overview of where you can find robots at the moment, in which segment, for which application. Then we'll go through first the Indian case study that happened so in north of India with the company Shot. Then after we go through the trend that we see globally that drive robotic and that also will drive the R&D roadmap at Staubli. And then we'll go through the Staubli answer and future answer that we will deliver to the pharma market. There is also, thanks to this trend, new opportunity for robotics that we will go through. Then we will close with a second Indian case study about localization, and then to close this session to open the possibility into mobile solution for the pharma factory. So then today pharma overview, this is clearly where we see and where we have the most installed base in the pharma factory. So here is where we see the segmentation of the pharma market. And then it starts with API research and production. So active production. First, so you research for API production. So you have scientists working in laboratory. Here we see a little bit of robotic possibility, especially with collaboration, especially to support scientists in their daily task, in the repetitive task. And it's growing up at the moment. And then in the same segment, the production, mass production of these API. And here, in the past year, we saw more heavy machine, standard machine, not really robot, but still in an aseptic environment, but more and more with the trend of small batch, actually, we see robotics appearing in this segment. It's mostly heavy payload robot that can go up to 50 kgs or even 100 kg, doing some handling, opening of API bulk, API vessel. So this in an aseptic environment. So in terms of volume, it's not the biggest segment that we foresee, but it's growing up. And especially in India, when we see regularly case study to develop such application. Then, of course, we go to what we know the most. It's liquid and solid production that we split in two parts. First part is primary production. So basically everything that will happen inside aseptic environment. And then after a more non-aseptic production line. And here, liquid and solid production. So this is everything that's happening inside isolator. So basically, this is probably in terms of volume, the most important segment where you can foresee, especially our robot, because we have a unique range of aseptic robot that is called the SteriClean. And here, all the robots are performing all the tasks for the conditioning in primary sector of the drugs. So filling, basically, capping, weighting, transferring from one task to another. So here it's really the key segment where actually the automation and the robotic is obvious. So I mean, since isolator is made for this kind of process, we have no longer manual access or human access into this area. Therefore, robotic were the first to be implemented in this area. Then we move to what we call pack materials. So it's the manufacturing itself of the RTU containers, all format. So here we talk mainly about vials, syringes, cartridge, but we see also a growth for injectable or even some new drug delivery system like patches that also have a very high needs of automation and then of robotic. So usually this pack material, it's not implemented in the same factory, so they are not the same player for the pharma drug conditioning and the pack material, but this pack material needs to be delivered to all the segment around the pharma factory itself. Then another segment that we call auxiliary processes, because in liquid and solid primary production, so this is everything that's happening inside the isolator. So this is the line of the process line of the conditioning. auxiliary process, it's everything that is around isolator. So obviously there is quite a lot of operation that needs to be made. So you need to feed empty containers, you need to feed caps. There is also some parallel process, lyophilization that we will talk a little bit later, autoclaving as well. And here, this auxiliary process, this is the segment where we see the most important growth at the moment, because there is still manual operation in this process. And thanks or because of the new GMP Annex 1 and FDA regulation, we need to push away all the human operation from this area. And then there is a big trend of automation of these processes. Then, as I mentioned, so first, aseptic process, primary production, and then it goes to another secondary and inspection process. So inspection, then after secondary packaging, then it goes to palletizing and all the intralogistic that is related with. So here we are a bit away from the aseptic, from the grade A environment, but we are still in a pharma factory. Therefore, there is still some needs of cleanability for the equipment, so involving the robot as well. So here we kind of mix liquid and solid, because in terms of robotics, I mean, for us, it's quite the same. I mean, we are not manipulating really the liquid inside. So we are manipulating containers, vials. So whatever, if it's liquid and solid, for automation, it's quite the same, even though we can foresee more robotics into the liquid area rather than the solid area. Then there is another segment that we call biotherapy. So if we see the first process, so it's API production, so everything related to chemicals or organic drugs. Here, biotherapy, it's the manufacturing of drugs based on human cell. So here, basically, we are taking cells from a patient, modify the drugs, and then re-implement to the patient. So basically, we talk mostly about blood, but not only, because the trend is also to develop skin or bones in this kind of biotherapy. It's quite booming, so I will give you a focus on this a bit later. But what you have to know, it's okay, the process management is going into industrialization phase, but then this is only the upstream part, because there is still the downstream part to the conditioning, and then this segment is related also to the primary conditioning that we have already some robot in. And then there is a last segment for us that is quite important in terms of automation, is laboratory automation. So basically all the hospital automation and also diagnostic. So it's really important. So here we sometimes not really mostly talk about drugs. We talk about analyzing drugs, blood, urine, tissue in hospital or if in a healthcare center. There is already some implementation of automation at the moment in this area, but thanks again and on because of the COVID crisis, there is an increased need of automation that push manufacturer to develop such machine. So this is just for you to foresee all the spectrum of application and area when we see robot already in the pharma industry. And then we can develop after some kind of generic market requirement into these area, because a robot, I mean, it's the same requirement and specification than in general industry. So you define it with the speed that you need, the cycle time, the payload, and the reach. But in pharma, and it will be also the same in the food industry, so you need also to add few criteria to spec the robot. It's in which clean room area will you install the robot, in which cleaning process and media you will apply the robot, and then cleaning and decontamination process in case you need it. So here we have defined 4 generic level of the pharma requirement in terms of robot that we can go into details. So the first one is highly aseptic, isolator made. So here you are in grade B environment, in grade A environment, sorry about that. that is regularly cleaned with VHP, so H2O2. So this is really the most common use of the cleaning media in the isolator. It's very aggressive, and therefore you need equipment that is sustainable for this. A level 2 that it's still aseptic, but a little bit lower. Here we talk about RABs and freeze dryer. So you're still in grade A, but there is a lower concentration of VHP, or sometimes it can be liquid H2O2 cleaning tissue. Here I highlight also freeze dryer in red because of the new GMP Annex 1 that is this freeze dryer loading and unloading has very a key impact on the GMP Annex 1, because now we need to push away all the manual operations for this, because we are handling open product. Then level 3 for all the secondary packaging. Here you handle mostly packaging, but unique packaging. So for inspection and secondary packaging, you're in grade C zone. And here we see a need of regular disinfection from alcoholic wipe. And there is a growth need of automation, especially in some country, because of lack of resources for this manual operation. And then we end up with level 4, that is final packaging or palletizing. Here, we used to say no cleaning requirements, so we are quite aligned with the general industry, even though no cleaning requirement in pharma factory is never done. So there is always some cleaning requirement, even if it's once a year. So then you need anyway a robot that is sustainable for this kind of process. And here I hand over to Wassim for the first case study that we want to present.
Thank you, Sebastian. So as Sebastian concluded with the packaging in the previous slide, there is a success story for packaging, hygienic packaging with one of our esteemed customer called as Schott Poonawalla. And Schott is a German group. Poonawalla is a serum group, as you all know. And one live success case that we had, we supplied around 9 robots to them for the manufacturing of vials and PFS. So here the robot, there are 2 types of robot that we have supplied. One is a SCARA robot and one is a 6-axis robot, which is doing basically handling applications, and they are into a clean room area. Schott got this requirement where they were currently handling the PFS as well as vials manually, as well as the cartridges manually, and then they used to do 1 tub per minute of the production. But as you all know, in COVID times, the requirement for the medical devices raised to a very high extent, and then they were in the need of automation. And then we have deployed robots. We were the partner for them for the automation in their huge facility in Umarsadi in Daman. And then we used to also cater multiple recipes at a time. So there are 1 ml, 2 ml, 3 ml vials and syringes that are being packed, and we are doing it to them in a clean and hygienic way. And we are also achieving a consistent performance and a performance increase of 2 tubs a minute. And they also had a GMP compliant requirement and as well as a quality requirement in this enclosed structure, enclosed room of theirs, where we successfully installed our systems. Can you move to next, Sebastian? So I would just like to play with you the video that we have already installed some systems at Schott. So you can see multiple assemblies where the nest is inlet for the tub, and then the nest goes inside the tub. Then the robot, mostly the 6-axis robot, handles the inner tie vac, places it on the tub, and then places the outer tie vac, and then the tub further goes for packaging application. And then this tub of PFS is further used for filling application, which is already sterile. So our robots, as Sebastian already said, our robots are hygienic, clean, IPA cleanable, and it is used for packaging of the PFS into the tubs. So as I said, the productivity increase of from 1 tub per minute to 2 tubs per minute was achieved. And then it was a mix of 6-axis and a SCARA robot. And of course, the robots can be cleaned by IPA. So this is just a brief of a case study of hygienic packaging on PFS line. We have done subsequently the same thing for the vials as well. And we are in process of developing their internal requirement and taking their production to a next level, where we will now install industry 4.0. Things will be on cloud, and then we are also discussing for the prospect other projects in further in packaging of different medical devices. Sebastian?
Yes, so then I move to the trend that drives the robotic, and that drives also, as I said, the R&D department in Staubli to develop the next generation of robot for pharma. So if we throw back to the evolution of the equipment, so it starts some decades ago with open and manual operation. So here, I mean, it was very the very beginning of the process in the pharma. Then we moved quite quickly into isolated and manual. So the isolator appeared, but it was still manual operation through gloves. Then we had the first robotic equipment that was installed inside isolator. So we had to wait the first SteriClean generation, 2008, to implement equipment that was sustainable into isolator, and especially with the cleaning process of the isolator. But now we are moving to a fourth step that is closed and automated. So the isolator has no longer any gloves. This is a key trend in Europe, and then we will see that it's also moving into India. And then having no gloves anymore, so then that pushed the robotic supplier like us to develop new features, because we will be asked to the robot more operation, more task, because all the tasks that were performed manually through gloves will need to be performed by the robotic. Another trend is, I mean, we already mentioned about it, is the Annex 1 of the GMP that is now on for the European market, and also there's a big impact in India, and the FDA guidance that is more or less aligned with the GMP Annex 1. And then we see here more and more requirements, so there has an impact on the robot itself. So then we will have to upgrade the current robot that was installed in the isolator with new material, with a better cleanability. But there is also some opportunities for us. I already mentioned freeze dryer, unloading, unloading. So the GMP Annex 1 said there is no more human operation into this area, and therefore it brings to more opportunity for automation, and then we will see with robotic involved. A big trend for us, and it really highlights also the robotic arm, the 6-axis, in the trend of small batches. So basically, small batches, so we'll see later, but it's highly driven by the personalized medicine. So then you need to change regularly the format of the RTU container. So you need more flexibility of the equipment inside. And then it also put the robot into the center of the isolator. So for mass production, we were asking to the robot to perform only one task, and then to transfer to another robot that will perform another task. So it was really a linear process. With small batch, so small batch means small equipment, small isolators. Therefore, there is the space to put only 1 or 2 maximum robot in this equipment, and therefore we will ask to this robot to perform more tasks. And then, as you probably know, so this is not the same tool to perform filling than to perform inspection, than to perform weighting. Therefore, we will have to regularly change the tool of the robot, and that will lead also to some tool changer development into the robotic supplier like us. So as I mentioned, this small batch production is highly driven by the personalized medicine. When I say small batch, it can be also a unique batch. So, I mean, there is some drug that is manufactured for only one single patient, and therefore, anyway, in between those batches, there is always a decontamination, a cycle of VHP cleaning to avoid the risk of cross-contamination between the batches. And as you probably understand, making one drug for reduce amount of patient or for one single patient makes this drug very costly. So there is a high cost, and therefore there is no risk of contamination to be applied. So here is just a bunch of videos for already small batch equipment that we see on the market. As you see, I mean, this is maximum 2 robots that is installed into this cell. Small batch equipment and therefore small batch isolator. And then now, as I already mentioned, so it's gloveless isolator. So there is already, I mean, not on the market, but soon on the market, some player that will propose such equipment. And therefore, the robot that is installed within this L will have more responsibility, and it's a very key driver for us to develop. So I already mentioned the aseptic tool changer, because today this is not a product that exists on the market, but also telemanipulation, because obviously most of the tasks that you perform through the gloves within isolator is troubleshooting, and therefore without these gloves you need also a solution, automation solution, to perform random situation, random application to solve and make the flow on. So then looking at all these trends, so we have to give to the machine builders and to the end users, so the pharma player, answers. Therefore, we already have probably one of the most important range of aseptic robots, so from 4-axis to big 6-axis robot that can carry 150 kgs. It was installed first in 2008. So here, what we can say that we already have feedback of the sustainability and longevity of this robot, because obviously, I mean, when you do a VHP, the decontamination of the equipment, you don't see at the first cleaning that the robot is sustainable or not. So it takes months, years to see the damages that can have on these. And here, based on this feedback, so more than 15 years, so we see that this range was unique, and it's really a key features for the equipment. Here, so we see a full range. The most popular robot for isolator, as you can see, I mean, you cannot put a TX200, the biggest robot, into isolator. Therefore, it's mostly these two range, so the TX260, TX240, and TX290, that is the most popular to be integrated into the isolator. Anyway, we see a need of a full range, because also a need of a grade A room, not isolator, grade A room for especially cell and gene therapy, cell factory. So this, I will come to it a bit later. I said SteriClean, so a full range started in 2008, but of course, with all this new regulation and new need, this offering was challenged because, I mean, there is always new process of cleaning, a new need in terms of hygienic design. So then we decided to partner with Scan to first retest the white SteriClean that you see on the picture, and to see, okay, where would be the most important part to improve. And then we made several battery of tests that to highlight the area when we need to make the evolution. And therefore, with this base of analysis, we turn out to have the new SteriClean Plus. So this is the gray robot that you see on the picture. And actually, it's not only a robot, it's a range of robots that now brings more optimized hygienic design. I mean, you see there is no more screw, I mean, at least visible screw on this, because it was one of the area that you need to insist a bit most on the, especially on the manual cleaning, the wiping cleaning. Now we bring also some FDA approved materials. So the coating is FDA approved, and also the gasket and the dynamic sealing also, that will bring more hygienic design and also are FDA approved. So FDA approved brings also some more acceptance especially from the end user, that always saw the robot as a black box. The robot used to be the only equipment inside the isolator that is not in stainless steel, and therefore we're bringing more acceptance with this FDA compliance material. So it's really a key part and a key progress on the range. This FDA approved material brings also a higher cleanability, that we have tested it again with our partner Scan, and then we see that the cleaning result is very close to the stainless steel. That is really the most important material used in the isolator. And then this robot is validated again by the company Scan, external company, validated to bring again more acceptance, but also to bring documentation, to bring more transparency to the user of the robot on how we design the robot, and also how we made this robot compatible with the environment that will be installed. So this robot, as you can see, it's really made for isolator. So this is the highest level I was mentioning before. And therefore, we have, I mean, you see on this picture, I mean, the most important task that can perform this robot. So this is the TX260 SteriClean Plus that was presented first at CPHI last year, and that is now currently under first batch production. And then to insist a little bit more on the validation and documentation package I was mentioning. So here it's also to save time from machine builders, because we know that anyway, machine builders, you have to provide FAT, SAT documentation. You have to do your own IQOQ of the whole machine. And then by bringing all this documentation of the robot, that is now a key part of the isolator, we will help you to do the risk of contamination of the robot and increase the acceptance to the end user for using a robot, and also end user, pharma player, that will bring more transparency on the compatibility to use this robot into the environment and through all your different cleaning process. What is the content of this validation and documentation? So it's a mix of documentation related to the model and how we design the robot to be isolator use, and also a battery of tests that we perform for the robot that you actually perform. So the robot specification of your order, certification and norms, just to see and just to prove and to put all the documentation into the same package. The product validation test, how we test and make the robot. So this is all the tests that we perform with external company Scan, and also all the tests that we make internally at the factory of Staubli to prove that the robot that we deliver to you is within the specification and also is similar to the robot that we tested with the test at Scan. So here, it's really also a bunch of documentation to guarantee that the component that is on your robot are FDA compliant, and then with all the traceability related. Here is just to have a focus on the test that we perform at Scan. So probably most of the pharma player knows this test. So the riboflavin test to validate the hygienic design of the robot, the D-value to evaluate the performance with H2O2, chemical test also, because we are talking a lot about VHP 45%. We have tested also VHP 50%, and we have tested a bunch of 10 other cleaning media that you can see also in the pharma factory. So therefore, of course, there is a difference between the cleaning media resistance that we have tested. Design test for the surface roughness, just to make sure that all the components are lower than 0.8 micron as it's required inside isolator. And then to test microbiological resistance and H2O2 absorption test, just to make sure that we are within the requirement of the GMP. And then there is also always room for improvement for this kind of robot, and therefore the next release of option will happen end of this year or probably next year. It's the HoloWrist to have the ultimate hygienic design, and also this is quite of a need for integration because, as you know, the robot itself is kind of useless. We need a tool to put a tool on the flange of the robot, and therefore by bringing all the media into the flange, so there is no more need of external wire, and then there is also bringing more hygienic design for this robot. Then I was mentioning small batch, and there is definitely a need of flexibility of changing tool regularly, and therefore you cannot see on the market at the moment any aseptic tool changer. So there is a lot of tool changer for standard environment at the moment. Staubli connectors is bringing some portfolio of that, and then there is a need anyway of an aseptic tool changer that should be connected to the HoloWrist I was mentioning just before. And therefore, we are currently developing this tool for this market and this application of small batch, and also for gloveless isolator to have automated tool changing. Here, so it's a demo that we made again last year at CPHI. It's the combination of the HoloWrist, the optimal hygienic design robot, with the tool changer that we are currently developing, and also with aseptic gripper, because I mean, it's good to have a hygienic design and compatible VHP robot, but then this is the whole cell that needs to be designed accordingly. So if you put a non-hygienic design on the flange of a robot that is hygienic design, I mean, the full solution is pointless. And therefore, we are more thinking like a complete solution, also including this aseptic tool changer, and in the future, some telemanipulation features.
Sebastian?
Yes.
There is one question in the chat, if you can look onto it.
Yes. So how we will clean the robot joint, as there is joint uncleanable shoulder in the shovel? All the joints are FDA compliant, so all the joint can be cleaned the same way that the static gasket that are on the cover, and the same way as the FDA compliant coating. So all the part that is external and can be in contact with VHP are compatible with such cleaning media. I hope that answered the question. Otherwise, I will go through the presentation and I will take the question just after the presentation. Then telemanipulation. So I was mentioning that. So especially, I mean, telemanipulation, we can imagine a lot of tasks to be performed by telemanipulation, especially when you are handling fragile or very sensitive product or acid. But what the requirement from the market to develop the manipulation is also to solve troubleshooting. So it can happen during a cycle of filling, that there is a cap or a stopper that is locked into the slider, and therefore usually it's an operator that goes through the gloves and then quickly solve the issue. But with gloveless isolator, there is actually only the possibility to take the control of a robot and then change the tool, because obviously, I mean, the robot that is doing the filling will not be the same that will do the troubleshooting, and then take the control and then the telemanipulated troubleshooting. So here, I mean, it's kind of a long journey to reach such a solution, because we already have a proof of concept that we are demonstrating at the moment. With haptic device that you see on this video. The haptic device allow the telemanipulation of the robot, but also give you the force feedback of what you are telemanipulation, in order also to protect the product that you are handling. But making a robot move by telemanipulation, I think this is probably the easiest step to go on, because the other step will be also to protect the environment. I mean, as telemanipulation is random operation, so we need to make sure that there is no damage possible into the other part of the isolator that costs quite a lot of money. And the other part, and probably not the easiest one, is also to give visibility to the operator. I mean, the operator, even if it's only 1 or 2 meters from the outside the isolator, he will need to have visibility of where he should go and pick. And this is really how we initiate this project. And then we will go step by step. Another thing coming, so as I presented, so there is several level of requirement in terms of cleanability into the pharma market. And the message is there is no aseptic and non-aseptic. So there is a lot of application, robotic application in between, and therefore there is definitely a need to have more flexibility into the levels. I mean, obviously, what can do the most can do the least, but then we also have to think about the possibility and the cost of such robot. And this is why in this year we will launch the complete pharma offering with, of course, the SteriClean Plus that I just presented to you, that is made for isolator, but also the SteriClean that is currently used will become a more intermediate level for all the labs and the inspection machine. But also we will launch what we call the Access Pharma that will be only IP resistant. So we see a beginning of this equipment that is regularly cleaned with alcoholic wipe, but no H2O2. And therefore we need to find the right intermediate level of cleanability of the robot. And one option also that is now mandatory is to have the harness of the vacuum line of the robot that it goes inside, that is also cleanable, because I mean, during VHP decontamination, there is a lot of particles of VHP, of H2O2 that can go inside, and therefore we need to have a compatible equipment. Then, as I mentioned, it goes to a lot of new opportunity. And one of the biggest opportunity that we see at the moment is this segment, biotherapy. So this is human cell drugs. And here we see, I mean, already applications, cell and gene therapy, cell culturing, bioprinting. I mean, cell and gene therapy, I mean, the first clinical trial was made in 1989 in UK. So, I mean, it's not new. And even the use of a robot to perform such process management is not new. But here, what we see definitely, it's that this new way of manufacturing drug is going into scaling up of the production. So we want to produce more and more product on the same time, but as it's a different batch at the same time, patient batch at the same time. So you need a specific equipment, the small batch equipment, as I already mentioned, and then all the process management that can last days, so 15 days, even 20, 25 days, needs to be now automated. Here, so we have a lot of examples at the moment already on the market, but what we can see is that the players, the pharma player, are not really fully disclosing the process of making such cell and gene therapy, for example. But what we see is that process is upstream operation, and there is always a downstream operation that goes to the fill finish, things that we already know and that link to the small batch fish filling that are already presented. What we see also, it's leading to opportunities to small batch equipment, even more downstream of this fill finish. Inspection cell, there is already small batch inspection cell on the market, but in the future, probably all the equipment small batch until the logistic, for example, secondary packaging cells. So here, to scale up this biotherapy, so I mean, we know the single robot handling for the cell therapy process that was launched in the 80s. But then after, there is multiple possibility to process, to go as a line with several robots in a line that you see on the pictures. Also, you can go to bigger robot to have access to a whole station around this robot. So here it's 130 kgs with 2.5 meters reach. So it handles 12 stations of cell culturing all around the reach of the robot. And then also there is the top player that can eventually use a linear axis just to optimize the use of the single robot. As I mentioned, this process of manufacturing can last several days. And here we clearly open the window to mobile solution in the future that will bring infinity possibility of scaling up the production. But the issue is that there is no mobile solution grade A at the moment. And this is something we wish to work on in the future. And then also a new way of drug delivery system that are currently on the market. So we talk about syringes, we talk about vials, we talk about IV bag a lot, but all these injectable are very key also for the robotics, because you need to assemble all the plastic part, you need to fill, and then you need to package. So I mean, it's multiplying the number, the quantity of robotic operation, as well as the patches, the transdermal patches that needs to be coated. So it's a medical device that you manufacture inside isolator, because it's really in contact with the drugs. And then, as I mentioned at the opening, so there is this auxiliary process that is today currently manual operation, loading empty vials, loading cap, and therefore we see more and more top player, pharma player, that want to have automation in those areas, especially because there is first an answer to the GMP Annex 1. So I mentioned freeze dryer early. So this is really a key area for us when we see already some automation, and it's mandatory to have aseptic automation. But what we see also, it's automation upgrades to answer a lack of resources, also exomuscular problem, because it's really repetitive task, endless story, loading, unloading, especially when you handle Achillus box. Here, it's really so it's really a key area, especially in Europe, in the US, to develop automation as well as final packaging. Wassim, I'll let you deal with the case study number 2.
Yes. Now let us talk about lyophilization, and this is a hot topic and also a pain point that we just discussed, that people are now facing, people are now requiring FDA compliance while loading and unloading the lyos. So we have the solution for that as well, and we have developed a few opportunities in the market with a couple of possibilities where the robot is now able to push the vials inside the lyo, as well as pull the vials from the lyo. And here you can see in the video the vials getting pushed inside the lyo shells, and we can pull it after the lyophilization process is complete. Nevertheless, there is another process where we can have the robots mounted under the LAF, VHP, washable, cleanable robots, where the complete tray is picked and then filled with the vials, is pushed inside the lyo shelves. So this is also feasible, and we have a permutation and combination of robots that we can use. A smaller robot to make up the complete tray with the rings fitted on it. So after the vials have been filled from the line, from the filling line, it comes under the laminar flow up to the lyo area, and in the lyo area the robot collects all the vials on a tray, and then one by one with the ring which makes the boundary to the vials is pushed inside the lyophilization chamber. So like this, all the shelves are being filled and the lyo process starts. After the finishing of the lyo process, the same robots unloads the vials and sends it back onto the same conveyor under the LAF for further packaging. And then it is further packed onto the inside the tubs for further delivery. So here the most important point is most of the lyos into the market are currently operated manually. And as per FDA compliance now, this falls under LAF, and then under grade A area. Few fall under grade A area where we need to deploy this kind of automation, and we can do this automation, and we have experience of doing such kind of automations. There is one more feasibility where we have done is that we completely unload the cake from the lyo, and we suck it and put it inside the grade A bag. So this feasibility also of the lyophilization process we have established, and we are ready to take such kind of projects also. So this is compact. Now currently you will see a lot of ALUs, automatic loading units and unloading units, which are there along with the lyos, with the freeze dryers. But our robot systems are much more compact, and they are grade A certified, FDA certified, which can be used for such kind of process. And retrofit opportunity in India is quite large, because we see huge potential where the lyos are installed 8 years back, 10 years back, which are not with the ALUs currently, and which are with manual automation. So that can be now converted into an automatic loading and unloading of the vials inside the lyo chambers. So this opens, being FDA compliant, being hygienic and grade A compatible, it gives a good opportunity for our customers to install such robots inside the lyophilization area under the LAF. Okay, Sebastian.
Thank you, Wassim. So now only a couple of slides to close this session. It's just to open the window to mobility solution. So here, I mean, the mobile solution, AGVs, mobile robotic solution. So it's not new in the general industry, but of course, in the pharma world, there is some additional constraint also, because we need to figure out if we want to have equipment, mobile equipment crossing into the clean room area. So this is still an open question at the moment. There is the pro that wants to develop some SaaS that is VHP compatible and cleanable to allow equipment to go through clean room. Anyway, we need to initiate the project, because today there is no AGVs or mobile solution that is even grade C, B, or A, and here we see quite a lot of possibility. Here I just wanted to show you this video. So the goal is not to show, I mean, it's quite a long video, but it's really to initiate some let's say application when we foresee the mobile solution, like overnight inspection of the tightness of the gloves. Even if the train is gloveless, there is still a need to check the equipment. And here, this is something that we foresee in the future, and that we have requirements from the market. Obviously, intralogistic, even in grade C, grade B, there is a lot of movement of expendable of all component that needs to feed the process line. And here we see a kind of mix of AGVs and mobile robotic solution to feed all the process line and even platform. Here, so this is one of the open question that we address. So I mean, will it be in the future? So equipment carry out sensitive product that will go through all the grade A area. So this is really an open question. Here, I mentioned also delivery of component to the filling line. So here, there is a bunch of, let's say, application when we foresee, especially what we call auxiliary process. To feed the filling line, and this goes of course with a fleet management system, because I mean one AGVs is fine, but two you need to handle the management of this fleet. So here today, I mean, we already have a range of mobile solution like mobile forklift, mobile robot, mobile platform, but then these products are not fully compatible, to be honest, with the pharma environment, even though we put a fit into this market with some semiconductors equipment. And as you may know, the semiconductor is even more restrictive market than the pharma. And the goal is really to develop in the future products that is sustainable for the pharma cleaning. And here are the key area when we see the most of the needs. So I mentioned auxiliary process, that is kind of part of the intralogistic, but also quality control to check the clean room area, and also to bring one samples from one place to another. Cell and gene therapy, as I've already mentioned, I see that as a big potential for the mobile solution in the future. And at the moment, laboratory automation, because laboratory automation needs more traceability, and bringing an automated equipment bring more data and then traceability for the factory. So here's the closing session. So just a few words about Staubli. So we are a global company. So I'm based in France, where the robotic factory is, and my colleague Wassim is based in Bangalore, the headquarters of the robotic in India. So we have three divisions: the connector division that I already mentioned, also for the tool changer part, that is a key. So we really create such a synergy between all the division to provide the best equipment for the industry, and especially for the pharma industry. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sebastian. So there are a few questions in the chat, I guess, if you can.
Yes, so I will stop the sharing. I think there's some of the question that you can be able, I think, to answer as well.
So MARJ, what all applications we can do with robots in pharma plant in India? Yes, just now, as Sebastian showed, we are into API production and research in solid production. For liquid, we are into liquid filling, starting from the manufacturing of the medical devices. And robots are also used in production of medical devices as well. We can also do filling. We also do filling. We also do capping, sealing, and further we also do lyophilization, as we stated. And then there are a lot of AGVs, a lot of automatic equipments, mobile robotic solutions, as he just now presented. So to load the machines to do their processes. So I hope the presentation was more onto the applications that we carry out in the pharma plant. Do let us know. Do keep in touch with us if you want to have a meeting or a separate Teams meeting or something like that to discuss more in detail on your pain points or your pain area where you're looking to automate few things.
Maybe I take over one for, is there any lubricant or any silicone or rubber washer within the joint? So as I mentioned, the new SteriClean Plus has FDA compliance material for the dynamic sealing and for the gasket sealing. That is not silicone. We can see silicone only in the current SteriClean at the moment. But anyway, there is always some double protection between where there is the lubricant and the outside of the robot, because of course it's a mechanical product. There is lubricant inside, but I mean we can always say there is a risk to be mitigated that there is a leak of lubricant. And in that case, this is why we put food grade lubricant to mitigate the risk analysis in that matter. And maybe I take another one about can be do a spray disinfectant for cleaning. Yes, you can, but it's more a matter of what disinfectant are you choosing. So if it's similar than IPS 70% of alcohol, yes, we tested it, but then we also, as I mentioned, tested like 13 or 14 different cleaning media and these results of the test are present in what we call the validation and documentation package that you will receive with the robot. Spray, yes, but then disinfectant, it's always a matter of, okay, what disinfectant are you using? And then I will push even more. How long you will keep this disinfectant in the product before drying it? What is the pressure? Are you putting it with a tissue to clean this? So, I mean, every manufacturing site, every pharma factory has a different cleaning process, and therefore it's better to get back to us, and then we can have maybe a personalized test for you guys.
I just want to add on to this, as he has already mentioned the disinfectant as NMT25. I guess it is okay. We can do the spray of NMT25 onto our VHP robots. So we have done this.
I haven't seen the name of the.
So we can do that. But as Sebastian rightly said, what are the timings? How frequently you want to do? We can definitely deep dive this into more detail and come back to you. How much temperature it withstands, Sebastian? Any idea do you have?
I think it's between 40 and 50 degrees for the standard robot. After, I mean, Staubli has a different range of robot. Some also have a food range of robot that can be a little bit higher, I think. This I need to check, but usually it's not up to 40 or 50 degrees. I know there can be some area in pharma that can be higher, but then after it's always a matter of how long you will put this robot in this area, if it's always in this temperature or if it's punctual. So this we need to check to check what is really the incidence on the robot.
Yeah, we can also go with our HE robots where we already use these robots in humid environment for around 60 degrees. So we would like to understand what application you're talking about in when you want to have the temperature, so we can able to help you out in more detail. And then how to set the zero positioning of the robot, and in past any accident happened. Yes, the positioning of the robot zero is factory calibrated and factory fitted. That comes basically unless and until you are required to change any gearbox or the motor, then you need to do the positioning. But there are marks onto the robot where you can calibrate the robot and use it. And in past any accident happened, I don't remember any. Sebastian, do you?
No, not really. I mean, the robot, is doing what it's programmed, what people is asking to do. So, I mean, if the robot has a mistake, it's probably because the programmer made a mistake.
Oh yeah, 15 to 25 degrees is perfectly all right. So it's no issue, no worries. So Devang and Shri sir, is it okay if we can have some questions? Someone from audience can speak out their questions and things like that.
Yes, I'll just enable the mic for all the participants. Yes, now I think the mic has been unmuted, so the participants may ask their question by unmuting themselves if they have any.
So Devang, Rajiv here. My question was already answered.
This is Praveen Sharma from Mankind Pharma. So I want to ask if some modification is required in the programming or the robotics movement. So how it would be done?
Yeah, robot. I'll take this, Sebastian.
Yeah, go on.
So the robot comes with a complete package of controller and teach pendant. So we can have multiple recipes that can be fed into the controller, and whenever you want to use those recipes, you can use those recipes, and it can be used for your different variant productions. So, and there is a teach pendant, there is a HMI, human machine interface, called as teach pendant, that we use. With the help of the teach pendant, you can able to do the programming and store many recipes inside the controller.
Okay,
I
that
hope
means
it answers.
it means to save any movement, we do not need any programming. Just it is done by the HMI, which is provided by you.
Yeah, so programming is to carry out the process sequence, and teaching is to reach out from one point to another point. So we call it as teaching and programming. So if you have a process sequence of picking of one part from one place and placing the one part in another place, so this is called as program. And then doing the teaching is teaching this particular point, and teaching the particular pick point and the place point are the 2 points. So this is called teaching. And with the help of programming instructions, you move the robot from one place to another place.
Okay, that's great. And one more question: if something is mishappened with the means the motor which is installed inside the robot, so how it would be replaced or how it can be repaired?
We can do that. We also do have dedicated service support in India to do this. So far, we have our robots are installed in a lot of pharma industries. So far, we have no query or no issues onto the motor part, but onto other parts, yes. So we can do those servicing as well as we can do the replacement. Servicing we don't carry out in India, but yes, the replacement of these parts can be done by our local service representatives.
Okay, one more question: is there any preventive maintenance required for this robot?
Yes, we do have the preventive maintenance on the robot, and in our manuals, there is a particular set of preventive maintenance schedule given, so that there are a number of working hours that are defined to do the preventive maintenance on the robots.
Okay, and one more thing: is there any calibration required for the motors or for the movements?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
And then Sindhuja Sahu, is validation performed for robots? Yes, as Sebastian said, SteriClean Plus robots dedicatedly come with a validation and documentation package. So we do have a validation performed on our SteriClean Plus robots. And now I guess, Sebastian, it is also extended to our normal SteriClean robot. So if you want to buy or if the customer wants to have this OQ, IQ, OQ, the documentations, yes, it is available.
Yes, I mean, the validation and documentation package is not only for robot that is installed within Isolator. I mean, it can be required from our machine builder or integrator for intermediate level, even for the lowest requirement of cleanability. And therefore, we will provide you a bunch of documentation to support the qualification of the complete machine. Because as I said, a robot itself without gripper, without anything, I mean, it's pointless. I mean, there is no need of qualify this robot. You need to qualify a robot installed with a gripper, with a software, with a complete machine. But this is to support you and also to save time from the machine builder and integrators.
I think there is
Yes.
one more question from Mr. Jitendra Raghuvanshi. Can be challenged with VHP qualification using BI and CI. So I don't know what BI and CI stand for, sir.
Me neither. So actually, I cannot really answer. Wasim, do you have any clue?
Can be challenged with VHP qualification using BI and CI. Are you still available, Mr. Jitendra, so that we can understand from you more on this question?
I guess we can send him an email later on to answer
Okay.
his question. No problem.
Yes, there is Devang. There is one gentleman who is raising a hand. Yeah.
Yes, I think you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello. Yeah, this is Ambuj
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Excel Private Limited. What is the MEC of that robot? And, this one is compatible with BHP.
Yes, it is compatible with VHP.
Okay. Means, there is no concern about BHP if we are doing the BHP cycle in that robot. So that is very comfortable, and there is no another reactions of that particular system.
No, I mean the Stericlean that we launched in 2008. I mean, we see no damages with VHP cycle since 15 years. So VHP cycle, it can be every day or every week, but we don't see any damage on the coating of this robot. And anyway, we have improved the performance with VHP with the new Stericlean that brings even more cleanability that is equal to the stainless steel.
Okay, that is compatible. Since you are talking about, it's compatible with VHP, right?
Yes.
And earlier I was asked related to zero positioning. If any accident is happened during the operation, whether that is automatically it should be zero positioning, or we need to initiate the breakdown and we need to position the zero conditions of the robot.
No, not required. It depends. It depends on what accident of the robot it happens, basically, because your tool, the tool attached at the end of the wrist plays a critical part over here, and then the robot has a certain payload. So when it crosses the certain payload with that force, the robot automatically stops. It goes into envelope error. And then probably you don't require to recalibrate the robot, but yes, you need to bring the robot to home position before we do that, and then you start the application fresh.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I don't know if you can answer about the program storage capacity, Wasim.
Yes. Hello, what will be the program storage capacity? It change over required, then how much time required for the same? Oh, so it's in second microseconds, basically. You can store n number of programs, but yes, it depends upon it depends upon the length of the program that you write. So there is a memory of the controller for the storage capacity. We will let you know what storage capacity the controller has, but the second thing is it changeover required, how much time required. So it's just the recipe selection. So you have an HMI, from the HMI you can select program 1, 2, 3, 4. So it depends upon the machine start. So the changeover time is in seconds. And the controller is having a memory of 512 MB. So it depends upon what length of program you are writing. So depending upon the length of the program and the process sequence of the program, you can store that many programs into the memory of the controller. So the memory is 512 MB. Is there any other advantage of robots in lyophilization other than loading and unloading? Yes. The space required is very compact now. It's a more, it's a main pain area for our customers that every time a human being has to enter this lyophilization zone, and then apart from loading and unloading, the major advantage is you respect the laminar flow, you respect the grade requirements, the environment requirements inside the lyophilization area. The third thing is that the solution that we develop with robotics is a compact solution. And then the fourth thing is that it can be retrofitted if there is already a lyo existing in the factory. So we can study the lyo and we can suggest you a solution which can adapt to your needs of the existing lyo process. So that is the biggest advantage I can say.
Okay, I think that's it.
I guess what Mr. Jitendra was trying to say was that can be challenged with VHP qualification using biological indicators. Yes, it is BI is biological indicators and CI is chemical indicators. And so the biological indicators and chemical indicators both can be challenged with VHP because and then typically it is 4 to 6 log of stereothermophilus, and chemical indicators qualitative instant feedback. So this is a real-time monitoring process that we do with the sensors. So yes, we can do this efficacy of testing and monitoring. You can do this.
Okay, shall we do the closing of this session?
Devang?
Yes, I think there are no further questions from the audience. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sebastian and Wasim and Kritat for this webinar. I just got a message from Mr. Belapure. He had to log out for another meeting, which got pushed a little early. Oh, I see there's another question. If you don't mind, you could just take this last question up and then we can close.
No. Is there requirement for disturb existing machine software during integration? No, in the sense for the machine process, it's no, but for the integration, yes. You need some add-ons basically because we need the robotic system to talk with your existing machine because the robot will be intervening your process that like loading or like unloading or like handling or like some process in between. So yes, you need to have this feature built in and this provision built in to in case you are doing a retrofit automation in line. So we need to study the complete line and the complete machine that you want to automate and come up with a solution. We can also see that if we add some sensors outside and take a feedback of those sensors, whether we can able to establish the purpose of automation, or we really required to dive into the machine software to do the integration. So it depends on what you want to do. So we can definitely discuss on these applications and provide you the solution on this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Wasim. As I was saying, Mr. Belapuri had to log off this call, but he extends a very warm thanks to the Staubli Robotics team for conducting such a nice webinar and informative webinar. I think some of the technologies that we talked about today are truly future ready. And I think this is something that we look forward to disseminate, not just to the people who have joined this webinar, but also to the broader industry.